do it underneath the art section.
Because
when I draw art, but
I need to start telling more people about this. There's one guy, Nate, at my work. He's a cook, and I told him about the podcast, and he started listening. And so I asked him, what'd you listen to first? And he's like, well, I actually listened to you read chapter 1 and chapter 2, and he said he really enjoyed that. And so that's kind of cool to get feedback on that.
That's some of the. Anytime we talk about stories, that seems to be the best stuff, and a couple of the drawing ones I did. Right.
Well, it's funny because one of the things that I particularly enjoy. There's a new guy that I found. He does a podcast. It's funny because he started out. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and so you would think he would be doing some kind of gun channel or some kind of something else, But when I go searching on YouTube or on Spotify or any of these podcasts, I always type in stories because I love to listen to short stories just told by somebody.
Yeah.
It entertains me. I mean, that's really what I'm looking for is entertainment. I mean, granted, two people talking about the politics of the day can be entertaining.
But you just want to watch grown men cry,
right? Right. I love short stories. This guy, his name is his actual name is I can't remember his first name, but it's B. Allen. His middle initials B, but everybody shortened it and they just call him Ballin. And so Mr. Ballin is what you can look him up under. But all he does is he tells stories, creepy stories, true stories about people that have gone missing or have gone missing and then turned up. So he covers all these true story type things, but they're all creepy, and it's just him telling the story. He has ones where like the top 3 places you shouldn't go, but people that did.
People that did.
Yeah, because he was like I said, he was a Navy SEAL. When he first started his podcast, he was talking about Navy SEAL stories, stuff that he lived through. But he found that he liked telling these stories better. And like there's he has a lot of them that have to do with diving. Because there's a lot of cave dives that you can't do them unless you're an expert, and there's so many people that die every year diving into these freaking caves and going into the part of the cave that they're not supposed to go into, and getting all screwed up and just drowning. But he's kind of entertaining, and so I thought, one of the things that I can read the Shattered Time story, and I think that would be entertaining for people. But also, I think it would be fun is, I've told you I was working on a bunch of short stories, because I wanted to do that one, Ponder. But I also thought it would be fun to do, because technically those, the Town Called Liberty are short stories.
Yeah.
But I think it would be fun is if we eventually get to the point where, because the great thing about Town Called Liberty is the artwork isn't as, refined. I don't know how to say
it's
that.
Cartoony.
It's more cartoony. So it should be quicker. And we could probably actually put together a video book, because we were doing it as one page at a time. And I could read it, and we could actually, flip through and do that live on a stream. I think that'd be fun. That actually had me read it. I wish I could do more voices than Schwarzenegger. Because I'm okay at voices, but I wish I was better.
You have to do the talk really high.
Because it seems like the only voices I can imitate are like Schwarzenegger and it's funny. I can do the gingerbread man from Shrek real well.
Shrek.
You're a monster.
You're a monster. No, not I'm the not. Gun. Get to the chopper. I'm not. I'm here to save you.
Right. But yeah. So anyway, but I think that would be a kind of fun thing to eventually get to.
The girl was Schwarzenegger, and the boy is the gingerbread man. And
well, I mean, I think, because at the very beginning of the first Town Called Liberty, it has the president speaking.
Right.
And I could probably do the cadence right, but I don't know if I could do a distinct voice. My fellow Americans.
Wow.
Anyway, but yeah.
I know somebody who could read it for us, because he.
Well, I know somebody.
He sounds just like.
Well.
Not only does he sound like Barack,
mm-hmm.
he looks like Barack. I mean,
well,
so my nephew went on his mission with him,
mm-hmm.
and so just to mess with
Right.
Have you met?
Well,
President Obama?
What's funny is
you've never gotten that before,
here's a shout out to somebody that we both know. My sister got remarried. To
Carlos.
To Carlos.
Yeah.
And for everybody that's watching or listening right now, Carlos was a inker that we had working with us at one point, or a colorist. Actually, I think he was going to do both, but he kind of. Well, I don't know. I don't know if we could say that we drifted apart or that we just gave up on the whole thing. But Carlos is married to my sister. He actually got married later, after we were trying to do this project together. But Carlos, he actually, one of his side gigs, I can't remember what he does for an actual job, but one of his side gigs is he reads books for a living. He narrates audiobooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
You can narrate for, I think it's Vox Libre. They do in domain, public domain books,
mm-hmm.
and so then people, you'll listen to Moby Dick,
right?
You'll get like maybe 2 or 3 chapters by the same person, then it'll switch to a new person.
Right.
Because everybody just volunteers. I'll read these chapters, and I'll read. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I used to listen to some of those. I haven't listened to any in a while.
I haven't actually listened to a book that he narrated, but I remember when I was over at Rachel's house visiting. There was several days when he had come home from his job. Once again, I don't know what he does. And then he would, say hello to Rachel, kissy kissy type thing, and then he'd say, "Okay, I'm going to go do this for an hour and a half or whatever." And I guess they have a kind of a soundproof room or whatever that he tries to go into, but
go sit in the closet.
He still tells us all to be as quiet as possible because the microphones and stuff that he uses is probably much better than the ones we have, and so he
but it's gotten better. This little thing is
it's not bad.
It's pretty good actually, and I think it'd be really good with a pop filter on a boom.
Right,
it'd probably be pretty decent little.
Well, yeah, one of these days maybe we'll have enough money or whatever to actually have the microphone right in front of us.
The Shure,
right? The
Shure brand,
right? Oh yeah, that's another thing.
I would like to be able to have it set up to where we look at each other when we're talking, or something, or have it set up more of a.
Well, it would be neat to have. I always thought that the coolest way to do a podcast is, like Rogan has it set up to where there's a desk and there's the main camera that can show both people, and then he has one camera over here that shows just Joe, or one that shows just the guest, and so he has just the 3 cameras. But I always thought it would be cool to have a camera basically over your shoulder, showing your guest, and then another camera over their shoulder showing back, and then have the main camera. And so when, you know, you're talking, you can see it from, you know, the person's point of view, you know, them listening.
Or the listener?
Yeah, from the listener's point of view. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong completely. Maybe Joe has it better. But
I don't know.
Speaking of Joe, I was like, for a week there, I was like, you know, he wasn't on YouTube. And, you know, the first came around. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, starting on the 1st of December, he's exclusively on Spotify. So I had to switch over to Spotify and start listening to them again, which I, you know.
I didn't even think about that.
Now everything that he puts on YouTube is clips.
Just clips?
Just clips. No.
So if I see a decent clip, I'll have to jump over
and listen to the whole thing. Right.
I haven't watched the whole... I think the last whole Rogan I watched was Alex Jones. I think so.
Oh, did you finally go and yeah? Because I remember last time we talked.
Yeah, I watched all that one, and then I watched him on Tim. That was hilarious.
Right.
And Tim Pool having to deal with him. Although he did very good. He said a couple.
Well, that's
things that make you just roll your eyes. It's like.
Well, that's the problem.
This is the reason why people give him such a hard time. Is when he does. You know, he's. You know, talk about people who go nuts because they have too much information stored up in their brain sometimes.
Well, Alex Jones must be the most avid reader on the planet.
He's one of them.
He's got to be. I mean, him and I mean, I can't even think of it. I bet you he reads more than Rush Limbaugh, and that's saying a lot because Rush probably reads more than anybody on the planet.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure Gingrich,
Jones. But I'm sure there's a lot of things that he avoids reading.
Oh yeah, he's just.
And I think Alex reads everything, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and he has just read so much. And then you know when he's telling them stuff like on Tim's, he's like just throwing all the stuff out, and when he says it, he makes it sound like it's, you know, pure scripture.
Right, gospel. Yeah.
But what he's really trying to say is, here's information that has been spewed out into public.
Right.
He's like, I'm just telling you this was what they said.
Right.
I'm not 100% saying this is. He's just like, but here's what it said, and somewhere in translation gets lost sometimes that, you know, if it's true, if it's not true, it's whatever. All I know is they've said this.
Right.
And when they put it in the white papers, that's even worse because white papers are. So, like, when you create a company, usually when you put your company directives and things like that, that's called your white papers. That's your code of conduct almost type of thing. And so, he's like, they just openly put this stuff out there. And if you, and like my wife has been she gets gluten intolerances, and she's had to go really tight sometimes. And she got this book, and this girl, this Hasselback, she said, okay, here's all the gluten stuff. And then here's all the other terms that they can relist the same gluten thing under. So one gluten thing might have 5 or 6 different alternates you can call it by. And they can put gluten-free and have one of the other names on it. Right. And because technically it wasn't the gluten name, then they can call it gluten-free when it really isn't. So you have to make sure that...
That's so strange.
So it's like what Tim says. It's like, and what Jones says, listen to what they're actually saying.
Right.
You know, and then if you know all these buzzwords and these terms and what they actually refer to, it's like, some of this stuff is just downright scary. Some of this stuff is, it's like even with his, I'm going to get upset, but with his 9/11 stuff, you know, it's like, even if 10% of that was true, that might be some of the most evil things
Well, the thing
I've ever heard perpetrated.
The thing I don't like about, do I believe, like Jones says, that 9/11 was an inside job? No, not necessarily. But what I hate more than anything with any type of thing in the news, like when there was that Nevada shooter, there's cameras all over that casino and all over that hotel, and none of this information is ever released. What I hate more than anything, there's cameras all over the Pentagon, and we don't have hardly any pictures of that plane hitting the Pentagon. So what I hate more than the thing with conspiracy theories is the information is out there somewhere, but it's being covered up.
Yeah.
And it's the cover up that I hate. So were you just typing to somebody?
Oh yeah, I forget that I like to put that at the top of the chat now.
What does it say?
It just says welcome and say hi. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, okay.
Just to encourage people that are watching, just to
say hi.
Just say hi.
But yeah,
when I'm sitting there drawing all by myself, like the other day, I was sitting there and so engrossed in what I was doing, and I look up and somebody had said hi, and I was like, oh, and they said, are you there? And it's like, oh crap, hi, how are you? And I think they'd been gone. They'd already gone. But it was like, I felt so bad.
Right.
Because I look up, nobody said hi. I look up, nobody say hi. So then I just get, and I'm really in trying to get something all worked out, and I look up and somebody said hi, and it's like, oh gosh.
Well, yeah, well, the worst thing is for you, the audience can't see this really, but Bruce has this set up to where there's 2 computer screens, but one of the computer screens is actually a huge tablet that you actually can draw on. It's a really cool device. He's going to try and show you here. Anyway, so when he says he can get engrossed in drawing and not see that somebody said hello, yeah, you can. I can see how that can happen. Especially because you don't audibly hear it go click click hi.
No, and I have music playing or something.
Right. So yeah.
And or
what you need to do is have a little window on your actual screen that you're drawing on that says hi.
Right. The little chat box there.
Right.
That says hi.
Yeah. So what is this rat's nest thing? I've noticed on the last I haven't been doing any podcasts.
So there was this movie that I watched a long time ago. Well, quite a few years ago. It's called The Savage. Mm-hmm. It's about this woman who I think comes to terms with the fact that she's that maybe she finally wants more out of life than just being what everybody wants. Meaning, she starts off, she's engaged, or at her engagement party, and everybody gets up and is toasting the husband-to-be for what a great job he did in landing such a beautiful woman. Right?
Right.
Because she is just so pretty. Right? Her name is Catherine Devereaux. And very, very, very beautiful woman. But she's starting to realize that, like, the only reason she's getting, like, is because of how beautiful she is.
Right.
And I imagine, I don't know what exactly happened, but she decides she's going to run. She's going to leave him. So she leads them, he's Italian, and I think he's a mob boss. But that part of it really never comes into it. It's just him being hot and Italian. Not hot as in good looking, but we used to talk about hot tempered.
Oh,
Hot tempered Italian. That type of mentality, so there's just this chase that ensues, and every person that she comes in contact with, it's like a hurricane just follows her. Okay. And so she goes to this hotel. The guy next door hears the husband-to-be come in, and they're wrestling. He's back and forth. He's worried, so he goes in there. She cracks the husband over the head with a telephone, knocks him out cold. The other guy's staring. So he just takes her over to his apartment, which he just starts doing almost what everybody else does, because she's so beautiful. He's just automatically going to get help. If she probably wasn't so pretty, people would probably be like, pat you on the back, hey, have a good day. Right. Hope everything's fine. But because she's so pretty, bend over backwards to help her. But blah, blah, blah. So pretty much the idea was that there's just this wake of destruction that always gets left behind, where everybody has to have her or own her, and she's decided she's going to lead that type of lifestyle. But she still has the problem of the looks, right? And then the idea was that then she was going to almost be kind of like Firefly, her own Mel, right? Or, and start up a little crew trying to find stuff wherever, and that she would be a little jack of all trades, because what boyfriends, we always want our girls to like what we're doing, and so you try to show them what you do, right? And they just kind of half pay attention, and they'll do it but then forget about it, right? So because of that, she knows a little bit about a lot of things, right? And so she's not completely competent at everything, but she's pretty good. So she can get herself in and out of stuff. And so I had this idea of doing that, and I thought it would be a great thing.
So, I'm trying to...
But with woman power and all that stuff came through, and I changed it.
Where'd the name come from?
Okay, so Rat's Nest. So chaos, right? So just chaos ensues her wherever she goes. So then I looked up synonyms, I think it is, for chaos. Right. And one of them was a rat's nest. Huh. So rat's nest, when used in a certain context, means chaotic.
So do you have any, so this was your brainchild?
Yeah, so this is and then a few years ago, with all the crazy stuff with
COVID,
boys are bad and things like that, and then having a boy, I wanted to have a book to let him grow up to know that girls are cool.
Right.
Well, the girls are nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus you draw.
Girls have curves that we like.
Plus you draw them really well.
Right. Well, yeah. I was thinking about that. My family's very religious, and so anytime I would draw, I'll draw something that's very scantily clad or whatever. They roll their eyes at me, or I just had it happen again. They're looking at nude paintings. It's nude. And it's like, yeah, but you can let your wife go get fondled by the doctor, and you're okay with that.
That reminds me of a story. Me and my dad. One of the things that we shared is we both love stories. Dad was an avid reader, and he also loved movies, and so do I. And Dad, this one night we were at I was at Dad's house, Dad and Mom, after the kids were out of the house. I went to visit them, and I was, I wanted to show Dad what I thought was one of the greatest movies that had just come out at the time. And it was The Usual Suspects.
Mm.
And as we're watching the movie and we're starting to get into it, Mom's sister, my aunt, her and her husband Jimmy, come over, and they walk into the house, and the movie's still playing, and a bunch of the characters are swearing, and immediately they're like, "What the hell are you watching?" And I'm like, "Well, it's The Usual Suspects. It's a great movie, really good story." And they're like, "Well, I can't watch that, blah 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 blah." And it's like, how can you let the word "fuck" ruin everything so badly that you can't enjoy the depth of a story and the message of a story? Suddenly, everything gets ruined because, somebody said shit or fuck or, it just doesn't make any sense to me, and I hate it. That's the one thing, because I consider myself to be really fairly conservative. Unfortunately, I'm a libertarian, so all my conservative friends think I'm too liberal, and all my liberal friends think I'm too conservative. But that's the only thing I think I have the most disagreement with when I meet somebody that's super conservative, super religious, is that uptight, oh, don't say that word,
Yeah.
or it's like, oh God.
My wife's that way. She doesn't like hearing it. And I understand. I mean, I grew up in that kind of household.
I don't understand.
My dad said he'd rather see nudity than hear bad foul language.
I actually...
So I really didn't grow up with that in the house.
Right. I actually...
I think I heard my dad swear 3 times.
When my dad passed away, or died of cancer, I should say, when we had the funeral, I actually I wrote a eulogy speech, whatever you want to call it, and in the speech, I actually swore. And it was the first time I ever had a bunch of conservatives, my family, come up to me and said, I loved your speech, and I don't mind that you swore. Because I basically told cancer to fuck off.
Yeah.
Because my dad, he technically he didn't die of cancer. He had a stroke. And so I said that my dad had a brain tumor, and he beat that. They cut that out, and he had no problems for years. And then cancer came back, because cancer always does. And he had esophageal cancer, which is, horrible because you can't cut it out. And so then he had some blood clots and stuff, and one of those blood clots, caused a stroke. And so so as part of my speech, I said that my dad beat cancer once, and then it came back, and he was able to beat it again. He died of a stroke. So, I said, fuck you, cancer. My dad beat you. So, yeah.
My dad's in the hospital right now because of blood clotting, because he woke up with a bunch of blood in his stool.
Oh, Jesus.
He's having to they're trying to get a biopsy done on something in his ear, tumor.
Jesus.
He has skin cancer really bad. He's redheaded, so sun has never been his fan. And then he grew up in a place called Enterprise, Nevada.
Yeah.
Which
it's a desert with no trees.
Which happens to be just downwind of the nuclear test sites.
Right.
And I just found he was half a mile from Ground Zero.
Hmm.
When he did a thing in the service to get his corporal stripes. He volunteered to drive a 45 howitzer tank to the blast, and then they experienced the blast, and then assault Ground Zero. So
he drove right into that shit.
Drove right into it right after the blast.
Because that's why.
So
Dad grew up in Monticello, and in Monticello, the only thing that they had back then that was actually keeping the town alive was they discovered uranium there, and they had one of the biggest uranium mines there, and they were he was a truck driver, and he was hauling uranium out of that place, but everybody in that town has experienced cancer of one kind or another, and there's actually that Dad, everything that happened to Dad that he had to go to a doctor for, as far as related to that uranium mine, it was all paid for. The government had a big lawsuit, and basically, and they are covering every medical expense for all those people.
Yeah, they denied the people in Enterprise for so long, but they came up against a case where it's like only a town like 2,500 people or 5,000 people. It's a really tiny little thing.
Yes.
But they had 6 cases of a very rare cancer that 1 in 100 million people contact.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 6 cases.
Right.
In a tiny little town like that, so they kind of had to finally. But then you had to put in your petition and say, and prove that you lived there, and then even that was ridiculous.
Right. But it's actually worth it to go through all that because medical bills are way too high nowadays.
Well, everything he does now, he does through the VA.
Right.
But so that's where he's at right now, at the VA. So
do you have any stories for this rat's nest, or is this just all a concept so far?
No, so like I said, so what happened was so I'm the type of person that I hope you pay attention just a little bit about some of the stuff that I do or need, and so then I don't always have to tell you what I want.
Okay.
I don't know how to put it right. It's just like,
Well, I guess what I was trying to ask is, do you
if you do it just because I said, then I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? It's like,
okay.
If you're doing it just to placate me after the fact, well, should we go do this now? No. Screw you. Should have done it days ago.
Well, I know what you mean. Cause
you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, shouldn't we do this now? You wanted to do it. Yeah, I wanted to do it a couple days ago when we talked about it.
Well,
or stuff, and then...
I always compare things to actual stories or whatever, because that reminds me of that TV show, The Ranch. One of the first things, Colt, the main character, says to his dad when he gets back to the ranch is he's like, I think it would be a good idea if we created this thing that collects rainwater, blah, blah, blah. And so he wanted to create, a thing, and he tells his dad that, this great idea that he had. And his dad says, yeah, just what we need, more fucking work. And then later, three seasons later, they're having an argument, and he brings up, he's like, Dad, I told you that we should have done this and we should have done that. And his dad goes, yeah, when you have these ideas, why don't you just fucking do it?
Why don't you just do it? Well,
that would be helpful versus this.
Well, it's like all those movies we've been talking about on Netflix that you've seen that I haven't seen. Well, a lot of the reason I haven't seen them because I wouldn't mind watching those shows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to watch them now that you think I need to watch them. Not you, but
right.
Now I have to have a female lead do this because of why? Why couldn't I just had it before when it would have made an interesting story? But now that you're forcing me, do you think that I think that's F you, go screw
Right.
No, I'm not. So my story, it was like it was just that, yet it's not that, and yet I was like F that. So I wanted a story that's actually opposite of that of you hear about kids not dating, boys are going farther and farther into adulthood without having been on a date.
Yeah, I know.
And stuff like this, and I wanted something that maybe he could grow up looking at and seeing that here's fun, here's a strong male role model, here's what most strong men find appealing of a woman.
Right.
Well,
the thing is,
she can be smart and intelligent. She didn't have to be all smart and intelligent because there's no such thing. If you've ever been around a woman, and curves are nice, things on them are nice, things on you are nice, blah 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 blah.
Right.
And pretty much what it's about a couple trying to stay a couple when everything around them is trying to rip them apart.
Right.
So my whole universe is set up in a where the social justice side has taken over. They're the empire. They've taken over the galaxy. You got your
rovers that's one of the things I was going to ask. Is this set in the future? So
oh yeah, it's space opera. You could call it. I mean, you could call it a Star Wars story. I mean, I almost use a lot of the same type of terminology because it's already right there.
Right.
But really, it's a lot of. I say I'm religious, but it's a lot of like Book of Mormon stuff at the end. Book of Mormon, you had the believers and the non-believers, and the believers became so wicked that God stopped protecting them and allowed the non-believers just to wipe them off the face of the earth.
Right.
And it talks about how a few of them are left, the believers, and how they're hunted all the time. They have to hide in shadows.
Right.
And so that's kind of what they are. They are the believers that are left over. Now they're incognito, just trying to make a living out on the outer rims, doing smuggling, odd jobs, whatever they can get.
Stay away from the government.
Stay away. When the government's always enclosing, and then that's a menagerie of wildness because you have all these different factions in it that makes up that side, and then now that they've won, now they got to tear each other apart.
Right.
Because theirs is more important part than others. And you'll see how it's I have flamboyant characters and I have girls that hardly dress any because they're flamboyant, they're out there, but there's this hardcore anti-conservative, ultra-conservative thing that happens on the left, right? They're anti-conservative, yet you can't do this, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't say which is like ultra-conservative-ism.
I know.
And it's everybody must wear the same gray tunic. Everybody has to have the same haircut. If you're to classify beauty between 1 and a 10, a 1 has to marry a 10, a 2 has to marry an 8. Down the line, right? It's forced, mandatory. You're given those designations. And the gray section is the Empire. It's the one, and it's starting to crowd out the more flamboyant sections of that group.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's infighting, and everybody's all trying to get supreme power because they all believe that their ideology is the one that's gonna save everybody.
Right.
And so, in all of that of trying to control all those uber ideologies, it's just a couple trying to keep their head down, trying to stay together as a couple because they're definitely trying to get rid of the nuclear family, the male and the female mother and father, whatever they can do to get rid of that. And so I wanted that, and then I wanted it to be sexy, as people keep rolling their eyes at stuff, half the fun of growing up was feeling like you were getting away with something because you were watching Charlie's Angels with your parents, and the girls on there running around in a skimpy string bikinis, and you're like, I get to watch this. Ooh, you felt like you're getting away. So that's kind of what this is. My characters run around a lot of times in skimpy string bikinis, and the main character, shirts open usually all the time. It's just a character flaw. It's an idea that. And plus, I just want to be able to draw sexy, beautiful stuff.
And the human figure has been the source of art for a millennia.
And so and they even go more old, liver spots, and people are gonna roll their eyes at me, And I modeled my main characters as John Wayne and Farrah Fawcett. And if those are two, I think they would work very well together.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of,
but
I don't know if I would. I always thought one of the pinnacles of hotness was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, no.
Yeah, she's fucking hot.
I mean, she's so fucked in the head.
Who gives a shit about her brain?
So you know that hot the crazy ratio.
Right.
Her hot stops way down here. She was never the only.
You know who's another?
She was this hot for this long in True Lies. And after that, she's been one of the ugliest cows in the world. And then when she talks and opens her mouth.
What's that actress's name?
Dumbest piece of shit.
What's that actress's name on Tim Allen's show, The Wife?
Oh, Nancy.
Nancy Allen, that's her
Nancy
name.
Allen. She's all right.
Yeah, she is.
All right. She's all right. She's no Farrah Fawcett, though.
No, but yeah.
Originally, this character I was designing it right after that Catherine Deneuve, because she just has a classic look to her, just a classic beauty that I wanted, because I didn't want the character just to be who I think the hottest thing right now is, or who people think it is, because I don't think what they think right now is hot is really hot.
Right.
So I wanted something that was kind of classic. I think something that you could pick up 10, 20 years from now and still look and say, that's a classically beautiful woman. But, I also was looking hard. It was hard just to match the characters up. I did a couple experiments where I put, and I didn't want Wayne to be overly just a hot guy either. I wanted him to be kind of just a man. I don't know.
Right.
His beauty, in a lot of sense, comes from his manliness.
Right.
Does that make sense?
You are what you do. Yes.
Right. So his character and things like that, and that's, I think, what always made Wayne a leading man. It never was his looks. Maybe when he was younger he had something, but for the most part it was just because shit hit the fan. You looked around the room and said, we want that guy in charge,
right?
Type of thing. And so That's what Rat's Nest is, and it's about this. The first story.
Well,
Gosh, we talked about story and how to develop stories so much in the past, and you've always said pick an idea. You got too many ideas going on, and so I was trying to figure out. Okay, I have this beginning of this, but where does it go? How do I get it here? And so what I did was I love Black Sabbath, and I love the and I love the first original 8 albums.
Right.
And so I said, what I'm going to do for the first book is I'm going to break all the chapters down for each of the songs. And then I just read through the songs, and I said, in this song it's talking about some crazy bitch who thinks she's had a kid with somebody else and she wants you to raise the kid for her. But she really doesn't love you, but she wants you to take care of her love child that she had with somebody else. That's fucked. And that's pretty much what one of the songs is. And it was like, so how do I spin that with the story? It was like, oh, so she wants you to go against your husband, so that she can get what she ultimately wants, but she really doesn't care what's going to happen to you two afterwards. And I was like, oh, then I could do that with this part of the story. And I was like, oh, crap. I just started leaping from one section to the next, and I was like, oh, damn, I have a story now. I haven't written out each thing, but I have actually too much. And I'm trying to, I gotta figure out how to cut it down. I have to start using more exposition on things, because I have great scenes. I have these scenes, and it's like I do a thumbnails for all of it, and it's like, wow, that's a page and a half for that, and then this is a page, and that's 3 pages, and this is 4, and I'm like, I've got 20 pages on a 60-page book, and I'm not even out of the first song yet.
Right.
In fact, the first song, I had that broken down into 12 sub things that are actually quite extensive scenes.
Right.
That's almost a book on itself. And it's like, but do I break the songs up? I don't know what to do. That's my biggest problem. So what I've been doing lately is I've just been drawing some character stuff, and so like over here.
Because I like
that so slow. I think I need new.
I like the idea of using the story as a because I feel the same way as kind of a way to teach our children.
Oh, I hit that.
You know.
Yeah.
Because I'm, that's one of the things when we first talked about a town called Liberty is, one of these days, all that stuff that we predicted in a town called Liberty is going to come to pass.
Seems like it, huh?
I would just love to let our kids know that, there was a different world back then, and that freedom did exist at one time.
Smart enough to see it,
and because these concepts of male, female, all that kind of stuff, we can't let them die away. We can't let the people convince us that that there's no difference between male and female, and that seems to be what everybody's agenda is right now. Is that there's no difference, and that you can just declare yourself whatever you want, and it's just we have to let the world know that there is a difference between male and female, and we have to celebrate those differences, because just because I'm a man doesn't mean that I don't believe there can be a strong woman,
right,
and a feminine woman at the same time. Strong women are not the manly acting women. I don't know how to put that any differently.
My thing is they always say, well, a guy can be a hard ass, but you call a woman a bitch. Yeah, a hard ass is different from an asshole.
Right.
And when you call a woman a bitch, you're usually calling her an asshole.
Right.
And a hard ass is somebody who cracks the whip. An asshole is just somebody who does it because they're an ass.
Well, yeah, I mean, people need to know what a good leader is.
Yeah, a girl can be a hard ass. But an asshole, nobody likes an asshole. Right. And when you just start telling everybody what they have to do and what they have to think like that, then you become an ass. And even those bosses that they call a hard ass, that's a different thing. Those guys that are the equivalent of the bitch, trust me, people behind their back are calling them an ass.
Right.
Well, bitch. I mean, they're using those words about them. They're not using, this guy's such a hard ass. He's a hard ass. He's riding you. He's a hard ass. I had a boss like that. He's a hard ass. He'd come in. You didn't know whether he liked you or didn't like you. Mm-hmm. One minute he come in, tear your butt. Next minute come in, hey, how's it going? You're like, he never knew where you sat with him. But that didn't mean he was an ass. Because if he was an ass, as soon as you come in the room, you just get up and leave.
Right. But yeah, I mean, leadership is a whole nother conversation, because I have a lot of views on what makes a great leader. I'm really well read on that subject. But as far as going back to male, female, teaching our children, one of the things that I, because one of the things in your story, the rat's nest, that or one of the things I picked up was everybody's trying to control everybody, which does create chaos and all that kind of stuff. And I was just thinking of that I don't even know what to call it. I once wrote a scientific type paper on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Mm. And in his base needs, he has air, water, all those kind of things, that a person needs to survive, and shelter and all these things. And Maslow defends his position, his theory, with everything that man has ever created was to get those base needs, was to provide for those base needs, He even, said that art, in his mind, was art was something that man did to attract a mate, which I think that's kind of stretching it, Abraham. Anyway, but one of the things that I think is
maybe if you're a guitarist,
one of the things what my paper was about was I think that Maslow missed something, because one of the thing that I think man's base need is, and this men and women, man as a whole, is everybody has a need to control. When you have a group of people together, just a group of kids on a playground, everybody is searching for that. That they may not think that it's they're trying to control their person. They control the person to where they can actually get the person to do anything they want, but they try to control their environment enough to where they establish a hierarchy, and they also, and all of these things, and conflict comes into play when, when your idea doesn't match what somebody else's, and so you're battling for that control, and the way that I support my argument as control as one of the base needs of man is two of the very first inventions that man ever created was politics and religion, and those are all about control.
Mm-hmm. True, to an extent. I don't know. Even at the playground, I mean, you're definitely trying to control your area so that you can get the most satisfaction out of what you want.
Right.
And if that means, hey, I just want to play the game. I don't care if you're the captain of the team.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously have to be, you want to be captain. That's fine. All I care is if I get to play.
Right.
But what you're saying is the guy created basketball so that he could control others to play with him. You know what I mean?
No, not necessarily.
Kind of.
But I mean, because
it's kind of like, well, Jones and some other people, they always say that, this is written for this, and this is because of that, and this is this, you look at Kate paintings, and look, they must have seen aliens, and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what a lot of artists have, and people that are creative? An active imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just write stuff that seems interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you have opposing forces, fire and ice.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you're trying to do the cult version of it, which is in the occult, fire and ice are two.
Right.
They're special powers and blah 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 with deities and things like that, and
right.
And it's like, no, fire melts ice.
Right.
Enough ice squelch fire. It's just like, and water. Well, so sometimes it's just creativity coming out, and I think we tend to put a lot of stuff that we bark against or really don't like against other things.
Right.
That's like I say a lot of times that most people's aversion to religion or hatred of religion all comes down to, I just don't want to do that. It doesn't. Well, a lot of times it just have to do with anything other than no.
Right.
I want to do this. I don't care if I don't. It's like most religions say stuff like don't drink or don't do this or don't do that, but I want to, and then they wake up in a park bench without any pants on and like, man, I'm never doing that again until they do it again. But you know what I mean? not that you might have had fun,
right?
But it's just interesting how you lament the things that happened to you while you were doing it, yet when somebody asked you not to do it and said, hey, you won't have to worry about some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna make me do that. It's almost like a
right. But yeah, going back to kids and stuff, another thing that I'm still having trouble writing is, I talked to you about it, is that I want to do that book or whatever called The Path, because one of the things, when two people come into conflict with each other, because I wrote this fairly simplistic story of these two kids that get into a fight on a school ground, schoolyard fight. But what I wanted to explore was what goes through a person's mind, and as they're following this path to hatred, you know, because I believe that there is a path to evil, and that's what the book's about. Is I want to be able to show kids or people that are reading the book that there's flags, red flags along the way of this path, that if you see these flags, you know, hopefully you can stop and say, oh shit, this is where this is headed, you know. And because to me,
fear leads to pain.
Right,
pain leads to suffering.
Right, it's a lot like what Yoda says, yeah. And because one of the things, to me, one of the worst things in the world, although we all do it, is when we start justifying our actions. That word, justify, because we, you know, we'll say to, you know, that it's okay that we're doing this to this person because that person stole something,
right?
Or that person, you know,
well, you
did
look at
whatever.
It with early Christianity, you know, it's okay to go in and destroy these cultures because of what you're bringing them, you know, with the Christianity. And that's where a lot of the major problems have come up with, and what people hate religion for. But yeah. But it's the same thing that's happening now, you know. And like Tim says, if you don't think this is a religion, you're fooling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You are deep in the cult right now. You're drinking the Kool-Aid, and when the Kool-Aid drinkers from the 80s have to sit and tell you, oof, you got a hold of some strong shit there, you know, that's sad, right? When those crazy guys that you said would ruin everything in the 80s and the 2000s, those uber right Christians in government, and were telling you all that stuff was bad, and you railed against them and tore everything down, and now you're lost without a rudder, and they're saying, you know, maybe some of that stuff's there for a reason. I think maybe there's the reason why some of those principles in religion or out of religion are such human principles that they've been around since recording of history has been around. We've been able to find instances of those type of paradigm shifting beliefs, right? From Noah all the way back with the 7 Noahide laws, which got expanded to the 10 Commandments later, and things like that. Those principles have been around, and everybody keeps finding, you know, oh well, here they are in Egypt 3,000 years before Christ, and oh, here they are in Babylonia 5,000 years before Christ.
Right.
You know, you know.
But do you ever wonder though? I mean, with like the 10 Commandments and all that kind of stuff, you know, I don't know if I never call myself an atheist. I call myself a deist, meaning that I don't disregard that there could have been a creator, because you know, there's so much evidence in my mind that there was an intelligent design behind a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I don't believe that there's any one religion that's nailed it as far as, you know, because you know, the Bible's full of flaws, you know, as far as you know, looking at it from a scientific point of view, you know, the whole 2,000 years old, whatever. Anyway, but you know, anyway, where were we? The 10 Commandments. You know, what's his name? Penn Jillette, hero of mine, great speaker. But one of the things that he was, he gets in these arguments all the time with people from religion, but I can see it from his point of view. Sometimes these 10 Commandments, to me, it just seems more like common sense. Thou shalt not kill. Well, yeah, if you go around just killing everything, eventually, there'll be nothing left.
Right. It is common sense. All of it's common sense. So. But the fact is there's people that break those rules every day on a common sense level.
True.
And then there's enough people that break them knowingly.
Right.
And then there's people who break them maliciously. And so they had to be set hopefully enough in a rule to make a certain amount of people not cross that line. Because we've had this, there's a philosophical question of, you might believe that's common sense, but I don't. You can have the rational argument that your morality of not killing anybody is common sense and the way to go, whereas you can rationally say that's just the way, that's just you putting your own moralistic ideas on me. There's nothing that says that one thing has to live and the other one doesn't. Nature puts that out every day.
Right.
Something has to die. Something dies so I can live. So why does that have to translate different to humans?
Right.
Because we think differently? Maybe, but does it? I don't know. You say I'm an animal about X, Y, and Z. Right. So if I'm an animal and all that, but not this one. Why? Oh, it's because it saved your ass.
Right.
It's because you're not dominant enough to protect yourself. You know what I mean? So in a Darwinian system, murder has no moral basis.
Right.
It is, you have some, I want it.
Right.
I'm the strongest.
So I get it.
I get it. Yeah, but so I don't know. It fascinates me because everybody.
Well, no, I mean we're talking
just
about
pushes one way, and it's
we're talking about philosophies that have been talked about forever. That goes to the argument of is man selfish or is man selfless?
Right.
Because I actually go back and forth on that argument in my own head. I have those arguments with myself all the time because, for the longest time I would say that I always thought man was a selfish creature. But there's a lot of evidence that they're a selfless creature. That they will.
Well, the most fascinating thing that you just watch that with is watch. It's gonna give me a lot of hot trouble, but just watch a woman. Women have got to be some of the most selfish things.
Selfless or selfish?
No, selfish ever created.
Yeah.
Until it comes to their family.
Oh yeah.
And to their children, and all of a sudden, they will do all these things for them that you never would believe that you would be capable of doing.
Right.
But damn. Most women are some of the most selfish people in the
world. Because, as soon as they become moms will starve themselves just so they can feed their kids the food they have.
But a girl will order her dessert, eat hers, and half of yours. Without you getting to try theirs.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's the dichotomy just right there in one gender. It's
right.
Fascinating.
But,
religion's a fascinating thing because I think just like anything, you can do it pretty good and then you can do it pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You.
I think
but it's just like with the Constitution, the government. Just because some things have done pretty good with it, and some things have been done pretty bad with it, doesn't mean we throw it all out.
Right.
You know, and just the.
Yeah.
We've thrown religion out, and look what's happened within the last 10 years of getting rid of it on a whole scale. There's been like, I can't say 50%, but I'd have to say almost a 50. There's a huge number of drop off, I think. I think it was almost like 30% of millennials, 30% less millennials go to a church than the generation before them. It was some drastic number, like huge falling off.
Right.
And I'm not can't say specifically if there's a direct correlation. There's a direct correlation.
No, I mean, yeah.
Because look at the generations before that grew up in religious neighborhood, grew up in religious homes, grew up in religious families, religious neighborhoods, who decided not to do it, didn't want religion, and they're just normal people in society.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those who grew up without it so much that it was a hiss and a byword, and now all of a sudden things is really chaotic these days. Yeah. People are destroying things. You know, they look at it, well, the insurance will pay for it. Well, there used to be a whole generation of people who said don't do it just because if you had nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, you know. So if their business doesn't warrant being burnt down before, then it didn't warrant being burnt down afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't warrant smashing their windows before, it didn't warrant smashing windows after. Mm-hmm. You were just a petulant child. Saying that is just getting me in trouble. People are going to show up, want to break my windows. Right. But,
yeah.
I don't know, you want to say stuff, but then things are so divided it doesn't matter. It's almost really has to come down to almost like those hashtag walk away movement, and you listen to some of those, and they literally had to come to a red pill moment where something happened in their life, and all of a sudden there was a red pill and a blue pill presented to them, and they realized, holy crap, what have I been going through this whole time? Or what have I been saying? What have I been doing?
Well, you hope that people reach that point.
Well, if you if you watch some of those on YouTube, it's quite fascinating. Hashtag walk away. It's about people coming to terms with lifelong Democratic social justice warrior.
One of the people that I subscribe to as far as another podcast, one of the founders, Brandon Straka, I think is how you'd say his last name, but he was the one of the big beginners of the walkaway movement. He was a gay Democrat, and realized one day that he didn't share any values with the people that were supposed to be. He suddenly realized that he wasn't really a Democrat, and he wasn't really the far left Democrats that he sees now. And so that's what started it all.
Well, a lot of it comes down to is but what makes them see that is they say something that they've held true their whole life growing up knowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, Spencer W. Kimball used to say, please don't shoot the little birdies. He liked birds, and there was it seemed like little boys like to shoot birds with BB guns, you know, and so he was like, please don't shoot the birds. You know, just a little, you know, something that you know, you kind of, and growing up with that, I didn't shoot the little birds, you know, because
I'm not going to. I don't think I can comment on this because I've obliterated.
I know you've obliterated birds. Well, I've done pheasant hunting, but I mean, just, you know, shooting like a robin or something on the back fence or something. I haven't really done that. But, you know, I'm just saying, there's just some things that stick in you of...
Right, lessons that you learn.
Yeah, lessons that you learn that doesn't have to be for you, them or for other person, but it holds true to you.
Right.
And as you grow up, you say it, and then a whole group of your people turn on you and say, no.
Right.
And you're like, no, that's true. That's a good thing. No, that's not a good thing.
Right.
No, it is. No, it's not. And then all of a sudden, they just rail on you, and it's like, wait a minute. But I was with you railing on them. Wait a minute. Was I just railing on those people because I didn't understand what they really were talking about?
Probably.
Well, let me see. Oh, crap. Hey, and you over there, stop yelling at me because I was with you when we were yelling at... Oh, shit. Well, what were we yelling at them about? Right. Oh. And they did... And that's all that they were doing? And that's all... He didn't want to do this for what reason? And that, like, I'm doing now, and all of a sudden, there's shattered ceilings started. You know, it's like, all the glass house starts shattering, and they had to walk away from that side. But you have to come to a moment. It has to come to this moment where you actually have to decide, am I going to just now keep that core value and apply it to this, or just deny that in myself and just keep the status quo, stay in the matrix?
Right.
And a lot of people do. A lot of people just are willing to repost stuff, shout stuff, just because keeps them in the group.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's some of the lessons that I would love to, like I said, that book about the path. I'd like to teach kids about that so they can see because I want people to recognize in their mind before it becomes violent, other, lessons. I mean, I like what you're talking about with the rat's nest thing is, I like the whole male-female dynamic, I don't like where we're headed in, where we're trying to create an asexual being.
A homogenized asexual
being, right? Yeah, I mean,
and I mean, I'm no, you have to, that inner race mixing is good or bad. It's like, do what you want to do. But to automatically say that everybody just has to mix, maybe you don't want to. You know what I mean? And that's just the same. That's the same concept.
Well, I've always said that I mean, because my kids are half Korean, half me, but I've always said that because for the longest time when I was growing up, when I was in high school, I went to a high school in the inner city of Sacramento, and it was a place called Rio Cazadero High School. It was a continuation school, which that's for people that are behind. You can actually work at your own speed. And to describe the school that to describe the student body there, it was me, a bunch of pregnant girls, and every gangbanger in South Sacramento went to school there. And so, I got to know all the gangbangers, which was fun. And, the whole race thing, because I learned all about, because since it was an inner city school, the history that we were learning, even though I love history and I study it on my own, the history we learned then was all about Martin Luther King Jr., which, he still is a hero of mine, and Malcolm X and all of these people. And, we got to learn about their different philosophies and stuff. And, a long time ago, I thought that, eventually we are going to reach this point where we're all just one race. I mean, technically we are one race. We're the human race. Obviously we're the same race because we can have sex with each other and make, it's not like donkeys and horses can have babies because they're two different things. So, we are one race. We can have babies with each other, so therefore we are just one race. The color of the pigment in your skin shouldn't matter. So I've always said, that, we should start, we will get rid of the whole race problem once we fuck till we have just one color. So I'm all for...
do you force that?
What? What do you mean?
Do you make it illegal to marry someone of your own race?
Fuck. What do you mean? Oh. No.
Sounds like it.
It sounds like it
Do you even qualify it down to percentages? Like if you got
me,
if you got 40% of this and 30% of that, then you have to marginalize that out with 50% of something else.
Me personally, I'm on a quest to have sex with every race.
Well, we know that,
and I'm on a pretty good track. I've slept with black women and Indian women.
That's different from. Do you have babies with each of them?
No.
Okay.
But still.
Yeah.
But
I know what you're saying, but that's the same ideology, just because it fits your happy view.
Well, what I'm saying is, even when I was in high school back then, and I was in a predominantly black neighborhood and all that stuff, I was of the opinion that there really wasn't any racism. I grew up thinking that, racism was a thing of the past, when people owned slaves and all that kind of stuff. But now it seems like more and more you listen to the media and everything else, and even though the statistics support what I say, where, there is less racism, if you listen to the news, racism is rampant.
Right.
Everybody's racist, and then you have that stupid race theory or whatever.
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory,
right.
Yeah.
Well, critical race theory is just, but you could break that down to, but that's where what I'm talking about with, once you introduce critical race theory, and then it will be, you're 80% this, you have to then breed with someone who's 80% of this. You'll have to cancel that with something else. It's the same thing with a 1 and a 10, a 2 and an 8.
Well, I think we should all just stick with what I said.
So everybody will be 5s.
I think we should just stick with what I said.
A mocha
Scientifically, 5. We are all human.
Right. Exactly. But to just say that everything needs to get homogenized, I don't think that's true.
Well, no, I don't think so either.
Because then you'll never have You'll never have a Heidi Klum again, or a Lupita. You won't have. Well, I mean, you'll have a bunch of Gisele Bundchens, but even then you won't have that because.
Well, our environment has to be, that's what caused, skin pigment and all that kind of stuff. So you would think that no matter how much we keep crossbreeding and fucking, that, the environment will still have impact on, skin pigment and,
I still don't understand that either because how we got Eskimos in Arctic and you have Vikings in the Arctic, and how come we don't have white Eskimos?
I guess the Vikings were too busy killing than fucking.
Oh no! There's only reason why half of Europe is considered white. That's because of Vikings. Yes.
Right.
But still, right though. I mean, and even in places like Japan, parts of Japan and China both have Arctic sections where people only lived in those areas, and that didn't change their DNA.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how that all works either.
I think it's hooey bluey. I don't know. I don't know. I've listened to some people talk about some of the
because
and I don't quite understand the math behind it completely, but they talk about like what you were saying with 2,000 years of religious history. Same in the same type of thing. They're talking about, well, we take this organism, we match its adaptive processes over X millions of years, and it has taken blah blah to get it from here to here, and yet people try to say the human that we have evolved and the math doesn't support the same transitions. I know somebody's far smarter than I was who understood the math was breaking it down, and he got into a very heated argument with a evolutionary guy, and the guy yelled at him and ran away because he didn't like how his math was ruined. He really did. He got upset and I think shut down the podcast, but it was like the guy was like going, so the way your numbers are right, so with this species we see the evolutionary clocks, so then how come in humans we aren't seeing the same evolutionary clock cycles? It's built, if it's built into the earth with all these different things evolving, then we should see it. We should have already evolved in certain things, and we haven't. And it's funny how people, we're evolving all the time. We went from writing letters to just talking on the phone. That's evolution, not bullshit. Not the same type of evolution. That's just that's different. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm still thinking that the planet and humans are a lot older than we think. I think there was a whole civilization that was destroyed before.
Could have been.
And, thank you, Randall Carlson.
Randall Carlson.
So yeah,
I love listening to Randall. The only problem with Randall is like some of the other stuff where it's just the same thing over and over again.
Oh yeah,
and I love it. It's just
it's like I've already heard all these theories.
Yeah. And I know you're just applying that to this to show consistency.
Right.
It's just
it's like yeah, I know. But I love Randall. How can you not love Randall? That's funny.
Let's see which one is Randall the British guy? No,
Randall's the beard.
Beard, right? Yeah, Randall. That's what I thought.
That's what,
it's Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock's the British guy.
Yeah, he's the one I enjoyed until now. Everything's about DMT.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all about DMT. I don't know, but No, Randall's great. Randall's fun to listen to.
We.
Because what's funny is he's right. You know, he says stuff. It's just a washed out valley. You know, like a washed out valley. Yeah, bull. You know, and he's like, watch what happens when you take a drone up. And you're like, hey, that looks like a washed out thing.
Right.
Oh crap! That's psycho. I mean, it's just not.
Right.
Hello. Who's Randall? Oh, Randall Carlson. You can find him on YouTube. He's a geologist.
Yes.
And you know what?
He's been on Rogan's podcast twice.
Yeah, he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast twice.
With Graham Hancock.
With Graham Hancock. Yeah, they talk about he pushes human existence back to 25,000 years due to
Göbekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tepe. Because in Göbekli Tepe they found a stone that said a giant meteor will strike the earth, and it happened 25,000 years ago, and then they're trying to find evidence that a giant meteor struck the Canadian polar ice caps 25,000 years ago, melting 2,000 feet of ice.
Right.
Some staggering amount of ice.
But also
evaporated and melted, and then washed down across western Washington, across the Dakotas and Idaho.
Right. And you can
all
see
the way
the
across the East Coast, and then that is the waters that created the floods that is written in all across the world in different mythologies.
But one of the ways that they can show that there was an impact back then is when there's an impact or an explosion, like a nuclear explosion, it creates diamond crystals that they can find
in nuclear explosions. So they talk about turning, like we make a joke about turning a place into a sheet of ice, a glass,
right?
And that's because the heat will fuse all the particles in the soil like sand and create an ice sheet. So they found those ice crystals or glass crystals in other nuclear sites, and they find it all up there. The other fascinating thing is they're finding giant rock boulders that the only way those boulders could have gotten from where their natural quarry is if they had literally been picked up and either thrown hundreds of thousands of feet away, or there was so much water that can move those giant boulders with them. Because there's like some in North Dakota.
Yeah,
there's a stack of boulders, this certain type of granite that's nowhere around there.
Right.
And they're not just boulders they're huge. So nobody brought them out there with a wagon. Nobody rolled them down off a hill anywhere close. They're from hundreds of miles away, and they only had to have gotten there either by being thrown there from a blast, or they settled as enough water that they were pretty much like pebbles in that much water. It's fascinating to.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I find this stuff fascinating. Because geography is just it's history to me, just like, or geology, I should say, not geography, but geology is history, and I love history. But it's funny, it's the history of the Earth, and the proof is there. It just takes somebody to actually see it. And like you said, when you talk about oh, this is just a washed out valley or whatever, and you're like, no, it's not. Look around, it's it's a forest or whatever, and then you take that drone up and you see it, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
There's the evidence, right?
So
there.
what it was is it was a canyon
Mm-hmm.
that breaks out into another canyon that comes down like this. So this canyon, and then a canyon comes like this, and it just looks like canyons, right? You know, whatever. And the way he explained it was, you ever hose down the driveway when it's like tons of dirt? You hose it all the way down, and in the gutter, because of all the water that's going over the dirt, they get like these little deltas in them,
grooves,
these little grooves, and and not only is it the way it patterns out, but you'll see layers of dirt, like colored dirt, like sediment hits like this, and so at that one spot, they took a drone up, and what you could actually now look like somebody had forced a path down through this section, and then it opened up to a massive amount of water that must have come like this and just swept through the area, and all the ground on the bottom has these waves in it, just like the washing down. It was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What do you think? Have you gone down the rabbit hole of the Great Reset stuff with the mudslides of the Great Reset of the 1800s?
Is all this Carlson?
No, this is not Carlson. It's a whole nother subset of people that believe there was a Great Reset in the 1800s where we lost 1,000 years of recorded history. In this.
No, I haven't heard this theory.
It's crazy. These great mudslides, and they talk about the fact that they find these buildings that are sunk in all these now towns, and they go and they build them up, and it's like, this is how it would have looked without all this mud around.
Right. That
they just built the roads over. And
I know
it's like these towns got inundated with mudslides from something.
What town is it that has a basically an underground city? But yeah, I think over time, a lot of towns, will sink away like that, and instead of trying to recover it, they just build over it.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of that, but this is like it happened suddenly, and then they just kind of it's really weird. It's a fascinating deep dive. If you really want to get geeky, or you really want to go like down the flat Earth stuff, try doing the reset. That's fascinating.
They didn't ask any other questions.
Yeah. Well, who's Randall? Yeah, I like Randall. Yeah, Randall Carlson.
He's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. We had somebody watching us talk.
We did. You didn't know that? Does it feel weird now?
No.
Oh. We still have somebody talking. See, up here it shows we have one viewer who was watching us ramble about nothing. So
I have still not.
We feel sorry for the fact that you're listening to us, because
I've still never gone on Twitch.
Oh, really?
No. I'm sorry. I mean, you get used to one platform, like YouTube or something, and you never.
Well, Twitch is different.
Well, I've heard lots of good things about Twitch, and every YouTuber that I watch, because I still watch Demolition Ranch, and I still watch Kentucky Ballistics, and they. Not much Matt, but Scott from Kentucky Ballistics, he has a Twitch thing that he does, and I thought Twitch was mostly for gamers.
It is. It's predominantly gamers.
Brandon Herrera, another game. He's commonly called the AK guy. He does Twitch, I think. I'm not positive. But yeah,
I mostly watch other artists on Twitch. I'll sit and watch them draw. You can just have them drawing while you're drawing, and I like it. The toughest part for me is to leverage Twitch with YouTube.
Right.
And the hardest part is the music, because you just want to sit down and rock out sometimes, but you know that they'll mute the.
Oh, they'll ban you.
They'll mute it. Well, they won't ban you; just mute it.
Right.
And so then any type of talking that went on, can't hear unless you're talking over it all the time.
Right.
You can talk over it, but you gotta have enough viewers and participation, because I can't ramble for 2 hours. I can't even ramble for 5 minutes straight on my own.
Yeah.
I can.
It's definitely a lot easier.
Well, I can, but the 3 subjects that I can ramble on about are the 3 that'll get me kicked off. Or people have a problem with, so.
That's funny.
So, I mean, I can talk religious stuff, but people usually don't like that. I was talking with one guy, one of the followers on Twitch, was a gentleman from Portugal who has a hole in his heart, and he grew up that way.
So did Dad.
But his was so. It allowed oxygen to get into the blood, or the way. I think it was, or was a hole in his lung? No, I think it was a hole in his heart.
Okay.
All I know is it made him blue. Like, see,
so he had a blue tinge to his skin?
Yeah.
Weird.
And I guess he walked in to get it worked on. He actually walked himself in the hospital one time and about freaked the nurse out because she thought a dead person was standing talking to her. But we were having a conversation about what's it been like growing up having to rationalize what's happened to him, and how come him, in such a predominantly Catholic religious country, where Catholicism is all things, all consuming, and he was like, it's been very tough. It's not an easy thing to reconcile when everybody around you just says stuff like, well, just pray and you'll get better, and he's like, it doesn't seem to be helping, and
right.
And we had somebody kind of be like, and a couple people took off when we started talking about it, but it's like, oops, I think we scared people off about talking about religion. But it wasn't even that deep of a dive. It was just like, well, how has it been growing up there and having to juxtapose the 2 things? And
well, that's one of the things I don't understand. I mean, because I didn't really grow up religious, but I'm fascinated by religion.
Yeah.
And it's not, I think part of it is because, I like history, and religion is history. I mean, I'm not talking about the Bible itself. I'm talking about, we have many, many, many cultures that, the religion is what led them down the path that they took. And, unfortunately, there's been wars fought over, religion, and I find that kind of stuff fascinating, because sometimes I think that's one of the weirdest things about me is, say somebody does something bad, something horrible, truly evil, or whatever. I am the type of person that wants to understand why they did it. what motivated them to do that. You know,
is there a civilized people without a history of religion?
that's a good question.
Has there ever been an organized group of people that made it? You know what I mean? You know what I mean by made it, right? Like
Grew and
prospered,
prospered.
succeeded, prospered,
Right.
without having some type of religious core.
Don't know. I mean, because even when you point out tribes, you know, if you're, Native American tribes, if they had their own religion, their own beliefs, their own rituals,
Yeah.
and so I would say no. There's never been a group that was completely non-religious.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, like I said, it's history. It's
Does that make it a prerequisite? That's
well, no, I
that's
mean,
a fascinating concept, though, isn't
I
it?
know what you're saying, but I mean, at the same time, I think religion is an easy way. Once again, this is my theory, not, it could be argued. I think religion is an easy way that leaders find to control a large population. Because if you can get everybody believing in something like that, it's easier to control a group and keep them from falling into chaos.
Right. I know it helps.
Yeah.
And I know it's a great tool that way.
Right.
I don't know, just trying to find the right words for it. It's like, is it a tool or is it just firmware? I don't know. That's as fast. I don't know. It's just, it's crazy.
That's the thing is, I mean, yeah. Because for some reason that movie, The Invention of Lying, popped into my head. And sometimes I wonder if that's how religion came about. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I love that. I was just talking with Laura about that movie the other day about stuff. It's
I often wonder if there was, like that scene where, his mom's dying and he just makes something up real quick to make her feel better, to console her. If that, because, it was a very touching scene. Love that movie, by the way. Good job, Ricky. But you wonder if it was just stories, if it started out as stories we told our kids, moral tales that we were trying to teach our kids, just like in that, what's that cartoon, The Croods? When he's teaching his kids not to go out, because you'll die.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of it. I mean, that's what's great about what Jordan Peterson was doing. He had these lectures they did about the Old Testament, because he kept on asking himself, what is it in here that's kept people? Because even if you believe the religion was started only a couple thousand years ago, the beliefs in it are from supposedly the dawn of time.
Right.
So what is it from then till now that keeps people still engaged in the book? or what, you know.
I think it's passed down, personally, because most truly religious people that I know, I mean, people that are into it, go to church regularly, etc., grew up in it.
Right. Well, but like what he's saying, those is there has to be something at its core that is touching your core,
right?
That you say yes to, you know.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, and he got into a discussion because the way he does his lectures were almost like he's having a conversation with himself. Well, what if this? Well, I don't know. Well, what about that? Well, what about this? But you could use this, and he's trying to have a dialogue with himself more than he is just straight lecturing you facts, and I love that. But he was going through with the idea that it's almost as if in order to understand what it is that makes a God is almost at the same moment where if we were a developing species turned into the species that we are now. It's like you just are going about your life, hunt, you know, food, shelter, reproduction. Food, shelter, you're just doing the animals. It's almost like once that turned into the idea of what the deity was, what the ideal human has to be, or what it should be, is a time that you realized we are not just animal. We are something specific and different along this evolution, along the cycle. And so there was almost like could have been a spark of intelligence there. And that is the beginning of humans, was understanding what the whole God thing about being the ideal human. And then all of a sudden, that's where the human race takes off. It's kind of quite fascinating. He goes into a much better. It's fascinating lecture. I really enjoy. I've listened to it a couple of times, and you don't have to be like, you can still be religious and listen to it, and you don't have to feel threatened,
right? That
he's trying to destroy your religion, because like he was on Rogan's show, and Rogan was, you know, these ideas are old, and we just need to, you know, we're past that. We're smarter than that now. And he's like, careful, Joe.
Right.
Careful with what you're talking about. Careful with not understanding maybe where this stuff came from in the first place. Because if this is born out of the core of what makes humanity,
right,
you're just throwing away something that says, well, now it's just a suggestion of what may be.
Right.
And we see what people who just have a suggestion of what humanity is supposed to be like do with it. And it's not pretty, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was a fascinating conversation. I think it even set Joe a little back.
Oh yeah.
When he kind of, way he put it to him.
But everybody that ever talks to Jordan Peterson seems to come away with that same, like, oh
shit.
Oh shit. I never thought of that.
I never thought of it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I feel so sorry. So he looks so bad.
What do you mean?
Well, you haven't heard what happened to him?
No.
So his wife had gotten cancer, and it just fucked with him.
Well, of course.
And
fucks
so
with everybody.
he went on some SSRIs, some mood altering stuff,
right?
You know? And in some cases with that stuff, you develop this rare disease that's associated with it, and it's kicked his butt. He he had to go to Russia to get experimental drugs to help to fix it, because I don't know I didn't understand all that, because they were using a lot of medical terminology about it, but pretty much he's fried a little bit of his brain, I think, and he doesn't look completely well, but he's finally gotten to the point where he's sane, I guess, to a point where it made it sound like he was just in so much pain and agony, and he would lash out at people, and
I haven't heard any of this.
Yeah, he's been gone for almost 2 years off the scene. You haven't really seen him do any lectures, talk to anybody.
Right.
And he just started popping back up, and he's got a new book coming. So, like, luckily he was able to work through some of this. Because he could still think that way. But, if I was a conspiracy theorist, there's a comedian out there that talked about the fact that he got let go from his contract with his agent due to his stance on trans kids and transitioning drugs. And because of his stance, he got dropped, like, from the network. Then he got dropped from his agents and blah 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 blah. And he talked about too. He was very leery that he went and signed with that agency, that Peterson went and signed with them. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, I'd say somebody wasn't looking out for his best interest when they suggested he go talk with a doctor about trying some of these drugs. And he's like, and the worst part is, you know what the worst part about it all is? I didn't even follow my own rules about just squaring your shoulders back, tacking it head on.
Right.
I went and turned to something else to try to help me deal with the pain and anguish that I was going through.
Right.
And it's like,
yeah.
So he's like, I have nobody to blame but myself.
Well, that's just it. I mean, this got me in trouble once in my life, and I'll say it again. But a lot of people who are suffering from depression, or say they're suffering from depression, you'll ask them, so, well, what's wrong? And they'll say, well, we have no money, and we're this close to being kicked out of our house, and we're going to be living on the street, and we're going to blah, 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 whatever it is that's going on wrong in their life at that point. And what I want to say to those people is, you're not suffering from depression. You're suffering from reality. The reality is yes, you're in trouble. And going out and taking some fucking drug so you feel okay with your certain situation, I don't see how that's helpful. It's like, what you need at that point is a job, not drugs. You need money, not drugs. You need all these other things that you've listed as the problem, not drugs. And like Jordan said, he should have, attacked it head on, and, because the reality is, yeah, his wife is going through a whole lot of shit, and which means that he's going through a whole lot of shit, she's going to die, and and once the drug wears off, if it ever wears off, those problems are still going to be there.
That's the nasty part about that stuff, is it digs its claws in and just holds on to you.
Yes. But I mean,
I can't remember what he said he got, but
whatever
it was just.
But I've gotten in trouble with so many people for that view on antidepressants because you know, you know what you have to do to get antidepressants?
Ask for 'em?
Yes. That's it. You just go to the doctor and you ask for them. You don't have to go through any kind of test. You don't have to go through any type of psychological evaluations. You just have to ask for them.
Yeah. Some people do have some chemical problems. Like
I mean,
my nephew.
If let's say that you're a famous actor who you have all the money you want, you have 5 houses, you have everything you could ever want, you're married, you have kids, and you're still depressed, then I'll say, go ahead and take those drugs. But if you can point to the problem and say, this is what's going on, you know, my dog died, my aunt died, my, you know, blah, 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 all this stuff is happening, my house burnt down, blah, blah, blah. When you can point at all these different problems, you're not depressed. That's not depression. What I'm saying is you're suffering from reality. Yes, all those things fucking suck. You know, feel bad about it, get over it, go on with life. Those problems will not go away when you take this drug.
Yeah. Well, they do. You don't care about them.
Right. It turns you into...
I went to Vegas for Thanksgiving, and I went with my nephew, and we went to the dispensary.
The dispensary?
Yeah.
What's that?
Bought some weed.
Oh.
Bought some gummy bears. Some gummies.
The CBD or just or the one with THC also?
With THC, yeah. So if I bought, what I think I bought was a mild THC, high CBD, because the pain felt like went away.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I just sat there. Just sat.
I actually like the...
I didn't want to do anything. I talked really slow.
I would say that's the THC because I take CBD almost regular.
But that was the THC doing that. But I mean, like, it wasn't. I didn't get that big. But although he eats these cookies, but he says he takes 3 or 4 at a time. I only had one little bite of one piece of it, or one dose, and it didn't do anything. Like what the gummies did. The gummies, I had more of a effect on those. That stuff's too damn expensive.
Hell yes, it is.
$3 a gummy.
Right.
And I'm supposed to take one every 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
You know, it's like, that's just way too expensive. Plus, at least the other stuff takes the pain away, but still gives you clarity of mind, which was much more preferred.
Right.
The only bad part about those stuff is even with the marijuana, you have to ramp up.
Right.
You have to. My nephew's taking more and more. He. Yeah.
But that CBD, Rogan always talks about on his show, and they're a sponsor of his, is at Killcliff. They have a CBD drink.
Yeah.
So basically it tastes like orange soda. Well, the one I had, they actually have different flavors. But it's great because he uses it after he works out, you know, because CBD reduces swelling, you know, and so...
It didn't work. I still have some here. The stuff
gummies?
that I bought. No, I still have some gummies, but I have the CBD oil.
Oh, that you put on your tongue?
Yeah. There's 300 milligram stuff. I wanted to try the 1500, but it's 300, and I got to the point where I tried it 5 times. So give myself 1,500. They didn't do anything.
Well,
but the cannabinoid CBD,
mm-hmm.
that felt like it did something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That made it feel like the pain went away. Although when I tried the other stuff, the Oxy, that not only did the pain go away, but I could stand up properly.
Right.
I could stand up properly, and I didn't sweat profusely, and I was still very clear of mind. And yeah, the only problem I find with that is I keep trying to tell Laura when I said, listen to the words I use when I describe it. It was magic. I'm like, just hear what I say when I understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's magic. So I don't really want to go down that road, but I did get a referral to pain management. I just need to call them. I keep forgetting to do it.
Oh, did you ever finish your paperwork on this concealed carry?
Yeah.
Oh, did you get it yet?
No.
Huh.
How long did it take for you to get yours after you sent the paperwork in?
God, a month.
It was at least a month, right?
A month, yeah.
Yeah, it's been about a month and a half because I sent it in the day before 30 days was up. Since we had to send it in 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I sent it, we went on the 14th, so I sent it in on 13th. On October 13th, I sent it in. And
it'll probably show up pretty soon then.
And it shows that we got billed for it.
Yeah.
For the background thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping it'll come anytime soon.
Yeah.
Although I wonder if I'll ever.
Well, what's funny is, you know, from that class, one of the things that I didn't know is when a cop pulls you over, they run your plates or whatever, and it comes up. It shows them automatically that you're a concealed carry.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, if you remember, that was in part of the class. You know, so I haven't been pulled over for forever, but I kind of want to be, just so I can hear the cop say, "Well, the computer shows that you're a concealed carry permit holder. Do you have a firearm on you?"
No, I do not, officer. You don't? No, I have firearms.
Right. That reminds me of, you know, the Demolition Ranch guy. I know I talk about him too much, but anyway, Matt had this one opening. He always tries to do a funny opening, and he's driving along in his truck, and this cop pulls him over, and so he pulls over, and the cop goes, "Sir, are you carrying any firearms?" He's like, "Am I ever?"
Am I ever?
He opens up the door and he's like, "Check this out!" And on the door panel, it has this little MP5 that's all tucked away, and you know, with little extra magazines. And he's like, "And check this out!" And he opens up the back door and he folds down the seat, and there's like all these rifles, and he's like, "And this one, and this one, and this." Then he goes and he opens the, you know, he has one of those things on the back of his truck, and he opens up the truck, and it's just full. Do I ever? But yeah, that kind of reminds me of that time I took my friend shooting, and we were out there, you know, just plinking away, it was his first time shooting, and he's Mexican, by the way. It's Noe. Hi, Noe. Anyway, so we're out there shooting, and you know, I had made these steel targets, and I was proud of them because they were so cheap. I actually went to a metal shop and got a bunch of their scraps and made it. But what was funny is, you know, all of a sudden this cop car pulls up, and this cop gets out and walks up to, you know, us, and he's like, "So, what are you guys shooting?" And I, you know, say, "Oh, we're just shooting 22s, but you know, what we were really excited about." And so I walked the cop over to the, you know, the metal targets that I had made, and I was showing him, you know, how I made them and all this kind of stuff. and how they took, I could take them down and they'd fit in my trunk and all this kind of stuff. And, I showed him all this stuff, and, he said great, and, and then he got in his truck and he left. And Noah's like, white people. If I was alone, he would have had me on the ground, handcuffed. I'm like, no, probably not. And he's like, he just was so surprised by that whole thing.
It all depends on how you're shooting.
Right. I mean,
if you're just out there shooting normally, you'd be okay. But if you're out there, got the gun cocked to the side, and you're having to hold your pants up and dance around, maybe he might harass you.
But cops in that place that I go shooting, cops go by there constantly. Oh, yeah. And what's funny is the only time I've ever been stopped or had a cop talk to me is they said one time they asked me if there was a guy in camouflage around there, and I'm like, I haven't seen anybody in camouflage. They said, well, somebody that was driving by said that there was a guy in camouflage pointing guns at the cars as they passed by. And I'm like, okay, no, I haven't seen that. So, but yeah, that was the only time I ever had the cops, doing an investigation. Most of the time, they just want to see what you're shooting. As far as, oh, cool, I like that gun. I like that gun. I like that gun. Because
I never had them stop. Never had them talk when we were out there.
Well, when I was out there with my kids shooting, they stopped, and this one cop, he actually asked if he could take our picture, me and Evie and Aiden, and because I don't know if he said he ran a website or something like that, but it was for a gun positive thing for kids, and he thought it was great that I was teaching children how to shoot, gun safety, etc. So, so I allowed them to take my picture with my kids. I wonder if that ever got published anywhere.
It's in a brochure somewhere.
I'm sure, yeah.
Look at the patriarchy indoctrinating of the youth.
Yes, I'm sure that's what it says.
Evil militia man. Evil militia man.
Right.
Oh, man.
Well, judging by the nighttime outside the window,
it's been 2 hours and 13 minutes.
Yeah, I was. Since we started later, I didn't know if you needed to go eat or what, because it's probably getting close to dinner, right?
Yeah. So we ate before you came, so I don't know what you're gonna do.
Well, that's cool.
But yeah, apparently I left my license in Vegas.
You left your license in Vegas?
Yeah. In order to buy the dispensary, you have to give them your license to check who you are.
And then you left without getting it.
Well, they put the receipt and the license back into the Ziploc, into a bag. You have to Ziploc the stuff because it's considered an open container.
That's funny.
So if you drive around with the bag open, and if the stuff inside's open, but I think if the bag is open, that's considered an open container. So,
okie dokies.
Yeah. Well, it was fascinating, some of the early laws that they had open. Like in Colorado, they said you could sell marijuana, but you couldn't transport the money. So they couldn't actually take the money that they made and transport it themselves to a bank. They had to use armored car service. And then the armored car services were all getting jacked. In the first few months, it was crazy. It was there was some crazy stuff. But so yeah, there's little. So we get home and Laura was like, "Where's your license?"
In a Ziploc.
Bam! It's in the Ziploc bag. Oh! Luckily, it only been a day and a half, and I called him, and he still had the bag. It's like, oh, here it is.
So did he send it to you?
He was there sending it. I said, is your mom home? He's like, yeah. I said, go give it to your mom right now. Because I know that she will do it in a timely manner, whereas he'll take forever to remember to send it. But he's a good kid. I like him. He comes and stays with us every now and again. And he makes sure he comes in and like if he's coming through town, if he can, he'll hang out. We'll go have lunch or something. He's a pretty good kid. But I tried it. I figured I went to a doctor about getting pain management, and he was asking me, and that goes, well, have you thought about maybe trying? It's like, it's not that I can suggest it for you. I can't do anything to help you get it. And of course, getting it without is not, so I can't suggest you to go do that because that's illegal, But he's like, I'm like, yeah, we keep going to Vegas, and every time we go to Vegas, I say I'm going to go to the dispensary and try some. But the only problem though is we didn't go into the dispensary. I should have gone in and talked to somebody with trying to find something a little bit more specialized at what I was trying to target.
Right.
But I still think I got something with a low THC, high CBD. It wasn't too bad. But at the same time, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to sit and just kind of zone. So I didn't go for a walk. I should have gone for a walk and tested it out. Then, because I had just gone with my nephew. We went to go buy it. But before we went to go buy it, we went to Walmart to pick up Laura some that lactose-free milk stuff.
Right.
And they have the milk all the way in the back. I was hobbling to get to it. My back was hurting. My nephew thought he thought for sure I was going to collapse. He kept on asking me, you alright? You okay? You sure? You alright? You sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm still walking. I'm still move a little bit, but so because of that, it was like I knew what it was like before I took it. It hurt, and I took it, and then once it really had kicked in, I felt like it had really. I was like, I should go for a walk, but I didn't. I just sat there and just kind of. Sure. Right. I guess so. I didn't even want to talk. It was weird. And then when I did talk, I felt like I was talking a little slow. Took me some effort to engage in conversation. It was fascinating. So I don't know if there'll be more of that in my future.
Yeah. But by the way, I still have trouble trying to find when you type in Burnt Out Studios into the YouTube search or anything like that. I still have trouble,
Into YouTube?
It's not pulling that. And Google doesn't find shit.
Well, I guess I haven't changed the name of my YouTube site.
Yeah, no, it's still Bruce. But you would think that if you typed in Burnt Out, that it would still, because we used that as the
What the heck?
as a heading or whatever the heck you call that.
Man, this is so my nephew bought the Tyson fight.
Oh, how was that? Or did
It was alright. But the fight just before it was
But
the fight, man, with Logan Paul. Whoa! He knocked that dude out. I mean,
who was he fighting?
Nate Robinson. He was an ex-NBA player. I guess they've been having these beefs, these internet beefs, right? Where these internet personalities keep going after each other. Man, I knocked you out. You wouldn't knock me out. Oh yeah. Well, let's get the gloves on. Okay, let's do it. So they did it. He hit that guy. You ever see the ones where the guy like swings and miss and then you clock him and he just keeps falling with his momentum, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But now he's knocked out stone cold and he just wham, does a little bounce and just lays there in one spot. I mean, he was knocked the fuck. Oh! I mean...
So anyway, getting on to Tyson.
Awesome.
Tyson and, what was it, Roy Jones Jr.?
Yeah.
Did it turn out to be more of an exhibition, or?
No, it was like they were trying to do it. It's just that...
They're both too good at dodging?
No, how do I put it? Roy Jones Jr. looked like, I swear the first thing that came to my mind when I saw him was Charles Barkley without a shirt on.
Well, I've seen him.
That's what it reminded me of. So he was overweight, out of shape. To fighters. You seen the...
I saw him on Rogan, but I mean he didn't have his shirt off.
So let's see here.
But I mean, Tyson's huge though, right?
Yeah.
So who won?
Why didn't it? It was a split decision.
Oh, bullshit.
Draw. No, it really was though. It really was a draw. So it's Jones Jr. and Tyson coming in looking
like a bulldog.
He wasn't. He's looking like a 50-year-old man, right? But still look good, right?
He looks great,
right?
Yeah.
So. Why is this running so slow? So, Jones did his little bam bam run away and bam bam, his style of fighting, and Mike just stalked him the whole time.
Yeah.
But doing his bob weave, bam, right. Bob weave, bam. But when he bob and weave, when he would bob and weave, he would like go way down to where his shoulders are almost touching his knee, just come. He looked like an old man that can only go so far over. You know what I mean? There was just some things about it. It just looked like an old man who couldn't quite get all the way what he was wanting to do. And Jones, wham. So out of shape. He was gassed. He was just like literally like, what the hell? How long is the round? 3 minutes. How long have we been going? 2:55. Oh shit! And so because of that, he was always stalking. He was peppering. So it really was a draw. Nobody really.
So Tyson never got any power shot in, or
yeah, he clocked him a couple good times, but nothing. Enough to make Jones like. And he popped him a couple good times, enough to know that he can just.
Now I need to watch this.
You really watch the whole fight. When you get done, you're like, yeah, that. I was saying, like, who won? I don't know. I was like, I would have scored it a draw because I didn't think there was a clear winner. Tyson says he won it. obviously. But
right.
You know, one of the reasons why it's hard for our site to get bumped up or any of that for algorithms,
Right.
is just because we don't get the traffic to it.
Right.
But
another thing is
I think it would at least come up with something.
well, I just wish something would come up on YouTube, because when you type in Burnout Studios or anything
On YouTube?
I'm just wondering if you type in Bruce Phillips, does that come up with anything?
I think there's actually, which is surprising, there's more Bruce Phillipses than just. See, this is.
Some guy named Bruce Phillips.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are, the fourth one down.
There I am, yeah. And then this Bruce Phillips singing Survival.
Huh.
And then here's another one. It's like, I thought my name was pretty.
So,
I'm surprised there's more.
will that screw it up if we were to change it from Bruce Phillips to something else? Would that screw up? Would that put us further down on the list or something, or what? I wonder.
Oh, I have no idea.
All right. Well, let's figure it out.
Look at how many different Bruce Phillipses there are. I can't believe there's that many.
I can. I mean, I'm always shocked when I look up Marty Rasmussen, how many Marty Rasmussens are. But anyway, should we wrap it up, or?
I guess so.
Because I need to go grocery shopping.
You do?
Yeah. I know that sounds exciting.
Why go grocery shopping?
Oh, because I live alone.
You're hungry?
Well, no, not really.
Oh.
I kind of hardly eat anymore.
COVID scares you from eating?
Oh no, I mean, it didn't scare me. It just got me used to not eating.
Yeah.
Why did oh wow, that froze for a second.
I don't know. For some reason, my internet's up here's taking a hit. I don't think I have that much open. I mean,
no.
I do have.
Maybe it was because when we were trying to search.
Yeah, maybe. Unless
Can't
one
go
of these
searching.
is actually running. No.
Oh, cool. But
see like that, it's hanging. It taking a while.
Right. Next week, I have the same schedule. It's Wednesday, Thursday off.
Should be fine then.
So Wednesday we'll.
It is interesting to go through and you look at views, and you're like, oh wow. But it's interesting how some views, how some do better, and
well, I think
the analytics part's crazy too.
We're definitely going to have to have me read some more, because I think people like that. Because I mean, I enjoy the conversations more than the reading, but but we got to do what we got to do.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting that I was looking at one of these, and one of them said that average viewing time was 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
So they just kind of
scrub through
Huh.
a lot of things.
Interesting.
I had a comment. I like this style you have. It's very detailed and loose. I love it. Well, I did not see that. Herschel Knight's Bane. I will reply to that and say, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been actually trying work on something like that because I want it to be detailed enough to get all my information out, but still loose enough at times for colorists or / inkers to have inspiration later when they apply their trade over the top of it.
Right.
Even when I ink it or color, I want to be able to have
Freedom.
a little bit of freedom. I don't want to have to be so tied down to exact line, exactly where it is. But
Right.
there are certain areas of information that I want to make sure that I'm
Comes
capturing, so it looks like it's
Right.
it's stuff. All right,
Should
well,
we say goodbye?
let's say goodbye. Thank you for hanging out. We appreciate it. Thanks for saying hello. Scribble949.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Hope you went and watched some Randall Carlson videos. It's awesome, man. Watch his Globecki Tepe stuff. Him and Graham Hancock. And there's another guy who's supposedly the foremost authority on it. But I like those two because they're a little bit more loosey goosey with it.
Yeah, they're fun to listen to.
Yeah, they're fun. They're not so like this has to change her. They are, but you know what I mean, right? They're not so stuck up about it.
Right.
The other guy's a little stuck up about it, but what's fascinating is you start looking at that and you look at the Stellas there,
Mm-hmm.
the rock. They got the guys with the hands wrapped around the front,
Mm-hmm.
these long fingers. Those are the same long fingers they have on the Rapa Nui
Mm-hmm.
statues down in Easter Island, and it's
Nerd.
But unless they had dug those out, we would have never seen
Yeah, no shit.
seen it. And then to see that it's not like it's a regional stylistic choice.
Mm-hmm.
They're the exact same stylistic choice,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it very, very peculiar. And I love that stuff. I really enjoy that. So sorry.
Anyway,
We're gonna go.
bye.
Have fun. We'll be back on again. I'll be doing some drawing later.
Wednesday, I'll be back for sure.
Yeah, Wednesday. He'll be back, and we'll do some dueling.
Which
We'll,
means
if you have any suggestions in the
It'll load
comments,
by-
leave some comment suggestions on. He'll be reading Shattered Time, so I'll be drawing some characters out of that. You can put bad guy or good guy,
mm-hmm.
or something out of history that you think would be a cool thing to draw. Some
Right.
type of soldier, future, past, present. Kind of put some recommendations down there. Maybe some mashups